Watford won, Pompey won. Final whistle's just gone. It's 9:45, and I feel, if you cast your mind back to how you felt during the last 10 minutes as we were holding out for that point, I feel pretty emotional, as you did, as you probably still do, maybe even if you're listening to this a day or more later, because that means that the last two games, 4 points, really hard won, ground out. We were professional and we were committed. There were some people running, elbows pumping, flat out in the 90th, 92nd, 95th minute. People who'd been on the pitch the whole of the game are just working like crazy for that 1 point, and we got it. And we more than deserved it, I thought. Watford looked good. In certain respects, they were a little bit better than us, but we deserved our point. In fact, it was one of those 1-1 draws where somehow, you kind of felt that we deserved 2 points. Not that 2 points are ever available, but where we shaded it really was desire. We wanted it more than they did. I mean, how many times have we come away from games at Fratton Park and elsewhere and said that the other team got something which they didn't deserve, but they wanted it more than we did? And this is a very tangible facet in football, and we wanted it more than they did. We had some heroes out there, some people who outdid their actual footballing ability contributions to the game, and I'm particularly impressed, and I'm going to have to mention, and I know you want me to because you would, with Adams. What a find. What an acquisition. He really is. He takes control of the game. He wants to show the people who decided to let him go. He wants to show the people who throughout his career didn't quite rate him as highly as he believes he deserves. All these psychological facets come into a player's compendium when they've been around the block a few times. People who have something to prove can be quite formidable, and I suspect that there's an element of that in the way he goes about the game. But on top of that, he's also a supreme professional, and you could say exactly the same, but in a different way about good old Conor Ogilvie. Is there anything left to say in praise of Conor Ogilvie that hasn't been said 100 times over the last 2 or 3 years? I've heard it whispered that John Messina has said that as long as he's fit, Conor Ogilvie is his first pick on the team sheet. And I think today, playing out of position, where he's played a few times for us when we were in dire straits for lack of a number 5 last season, and played perfectly well, he looks like he's been playing in the middle of the back four in his entire distinguished and proud career. But he hasn't. He's a left back. And part of the reason we love him as a left back is because of the way he gets forward, which he hasn't got the licence to do when he's a central defender, because his main job as a central defender is to do what he did and get in the way of everything they tried to do and get his head to the ball first. He didn't lose an aerial 50-50 that I noticed. Certainly, if anybody got to the ball before him, he was so much there, on them, wearing them like a well-fitting shirt. He was wearing them, and there was nothing they could do because Ogilvie was up and about them. Plenty of people had tremendous games. When Ali came off, he got a really warm round of applause because of his all-round contribution. Not just his contribution to the goal, because although the assist, and what a wonderful finish that was by Segacic, because the assist will quite rightly go to Connor Chaplin for a superb ball into Segacic, just where he wanted it. And doesn't he know where the inside of the post is, Segacic? We've now seen this time and time again. He is a near post expert with his favoured left foot. and he buried it. And he absolutely buried this one. None of your in off the post malarkey. That was straight in the back of the net. And well done Chaplin for picking him out. Chaplin knew when the ball was coming to him exactly where Segacic would be, which takes some doing because he was right behind him. You know, he wasn't even at an angle to him. He was right behind him, but he served it up on a plate. Brilliant play by Chaplin. That was the Chaplin that we wanted. And now we're beginning to get the all-round pro who also has some magic. Now there's a combination. But it was Ali who won the ball back, didn't he? Do I remember correctly? It was with Watford. And there was a 50-50 or maybe even a 60-40 against Ali, but he fought and he won the ball and he got the ball and he found Chaplin with another good pass because he had an assist on Saturday, didn't he? So this is a young man who is clearly relishing the opportunity to show what he can do. And he can be very, very useful indeed in the whole of the... You know, what you do if you're a left winger or a winger. He's everywhere. He runs back. He tackles. He presses, of course. What is pretty much what you call it nowadays, tackling. And when he gets the ball going forward, he's fast. He's direct, and he frightens fullbacks quite rightly because he's good, and he delivers telling passes, which is something. I'm not going to say that. You know, when Josh Murphy comes back, we're going to find him wanting because he can't do what Ali's been doing for us, of course. But I don't think we've had a player who, over the last 2 games anyway, has shown such an ability to open up a defence like a tin of sardines with a splitting pass, which is what Ali was doing over and over. Didn't Segacic keep going? You know, he got his goal and he went straight to the fans. Straight to the faithful, the very wet faithful. We may come on to the weather in just a second. Did that work in our favour? It can do sometimes, the away side that's doing the defending. If the home team can't really settle on the ball because it's slippery and it's wet and it's blowing a gale and it's not very pleasant and the ball's getting lost in the mist between the floodlights, it can suit the side that's defending. And technically, we should have been the side that were defending, although for large parts of the game we weren't. It was 50-50. But the weather was pretty filthy. But I want to come back to Segacic because I felt that as an engine, you know, there was this danger that he was going to be nicknamed the Duracell Bunny, which I didn't think was fair because the Duracell Bunny is a robot and he's not. And the Duracell Bunny is a pushover and he's not. He gets stuck in. Those quick feet of his flying all over the pitch, chasing the ball down. And then when the opportunity came and he had the ball, he was aggressive in his running, he was aggressive in his thinking, and he was professional. For a very young man playing 10,500 miles away from home, he is very grounded and settled. And he's been talking this week about how he's done that. The time that he spent in Holland, he said, has set him up. He now knows how to deal with being on your own, going home to an apartment or wherever it is that he's accommodated, on your own after a day's training, dealing with looking after your own nutrition yourself, dealing with looking after your own recreation, your own fitness program yourself, and then turning up for training the following morning and the morning after that, and gearing yourself up for the rhythm of a professional footballer's life, which is a game, a day to recover, a day of training, and then another game. You know, the Australians keep saying we're just not used to 3 games a week. And they're absolutely right, because the Australian A-League consists of, I think it's 26 games throughout the entire season. And here we are halfway through the English season, and they've already played that many. So there are huge demands made of all the Australian players, and none of them have come through those demands with more distinguished flying colours than Adrian Segacic. Who else deserves special mention? They all do. Everybody out on the pitch had a great game. Poor old Schmidt, being a goalkeeper, He had a great game, but there's that one thing. And if only he'd caught that ball. Their goal, obviously, we're talking about. If only he'd caught that ball, but it was slippery and it was wet and it was windy. And there are plenty of excuses, but he won't employ any of them. He will say, I'm sure, because he is who he is. He will say, I should have caught that. He was challenged, but it wasn't a foul, and the ball went down. And he did what goalkeepers have to do, and he did. He dropped his 6'5" frame on the ball with no regard for his own safety because boots were flying. Well, anyway, there was a pair of Watford boots in and around him as he fell on the ball or tried to fall on the ball, and it didn't quite work. It squirted, just as it had squirted out of his hands at a height of 9 feet above the pitch when he tried to catch it. One commentator said he should have punched it. Ha! Okay. I'm afraid in England, goalkeepers are always criticised when they punch it, unless they manage to punch it 40 yards up the pitch, which doesn't happen. So it's a bit rich, frankly, coming from some so-called experts when they say maybe he should have punched it. He went to catch it. He was right to try and catch it. He got a little knock, a small knock in the air. It slipped through his fingers. He then tried to drop on it and got so close. He was almost fouled as he tried to gather the ball, but he didn't actually gather the ball, didn't get possession, so it wasn't a free kick. And the Watford fellow who scored the goal, he took it rather well because he had to thread it, as I recall, through about 4 or 5 white shirts, and he did that successfully. And I suppose if you were a neutral, you'd say that Watford didn't deserve to be denied in that moment because they had put on a pretty good show. And they are clearly promotion contenders. But we were as good as them. We were as good as them, especially considering we were at their gaff. We outsang them. How sad are the Watford fans that when they scored within 2 minutes, they were chanting that old-fashioned chant, that redundant chant, which is nevertheless still annoying about you're not singing anymore. Is pathetic. Do we now have a new Ali chant? I couldn't quite get the words, but when he came off, it was said that the song was being sung by the Pompey fans who made that journey. And we're speaking now, it's 10 o'clock in the evening. The players haven't even started to dry their hair, and there are Pompey fans climbing into cars and vans and buses, and they are on their way back down to the south coast, which is going to take them all the way round a flooded M25, I'm thinking. I was watching the racing from Lingfield this afternoon, and the commentator said we had to come around the M25, and it was a lake. That's as much rain as we've seen in the south of England for a very long time. I would imagine there were moments when the game's very viability was under question, but it went ahead. The ref, by the way, did a good job, which is always nice to be able to say. Kept the play moving. There were a number of occasions when I felt we should have been given a foul and he let play go on. But there were also a number of occasions when I felt that we had fouled them and he let play go on. So this is clearly the fashion that is being employed now in the Championship at least. And on the whole, I think we quite like it because free kicks are no fun, unless, of course, we've got one in the 98th minute. And we won some good professional fouls, by the way, towards the end of that game. Chaplin, in particular, on one occasion, about 95 minutes gone, he got the ball around the halfway line wide, and he had 3 Watford players crowding him out, and he managed to buy a foul, and he did it like the pro he is. But as I said earlier, he's also starting to show some of the sparkle, some of the magic that we hoped for when we got the glad tidings that he's joining us. And now he's playing in his preferred position and he's starting to glow. So hope springs eternal. Quick look at the table shows that we're out of the bottom 3, but things are fairly tight down there. The thing that, of course, takes our eye is that we've got a game in hand on everybody, possibly 2 games in hand on 2 of the other people who are down there amongst the dead men. And we can already, it's now Wednesday evening, we can already start to turn our attention to the mouth-watering prospect of welcoming, if that's the right word, that lot from up the road to a heaving Fratton Park. I nearly said hostile. Now, that has unfortunate connotations. But we will give them everything we've got, from the cheap seats right the way up to the director's box, and hopefully on the pitch as well. So plenty to look forward to and plenty to enjoy, and a very lucrative weekend. It's a week of football. It's been so far. So hope you enjoyed it anywhere near as much as I did, and I'm calming down a little bit now. I'm going to go and snap another Peroni and just enjoy the moment, and I hope you can do the same. So till the next time, take care. Watford 1, Pompey 1.